Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing part 2 of the winter 2021 paper, and this is question paper 2. So you can check out my first video for part 1, which was the document production part. Now I'm doing databases, and there are 3 other areas that I'll cover in 3 separate videos, so it just makes it more concise if I cover each area in a separate video. Okay, so let's get straight into it. So it says that we're going to prepare some reports based on assessment results. Dates are to be imported in the format of day, month, year. So we've been told now in step 17 that we're going to import the file N2102 trainee.csv. So that's a comma separated values file that can be imported into various software types. And this is going to be imported into Access, which is what I'm using to create my database. And then we need to set up these field names and data types. So all of them are text, apart from birth date, which is date/time. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to import that now. So first thing you want to do obviously is open Access and open a blank database, and you'll see that you have the various options along the top here. We're going into external data because we're importing a file into here, and then we're going to new data source and from file because we're using a CSV file. Now it's not an Excel file, it might look like one, but it's a generic file format that can be opened in various software like I've said. So it's a text file for the purposes of importing, and then we're just going to browse for it. So it's this one, N2102 trainee, and I'll go ahead and open that, and then the wizard will just take me through the steps now to set up the importing of this file. So we're going to press next here. So you can see your data separated by commas in rows, and you can see the first row does contain field names from what we saw in the exam paper. So we'll tick here, and then we need to make sure the data types are set up so we can go into advanced and have a look. So they're all set to short text with date with time, and we need to have that at day, month, year. That's what we were told at the beginning. So that's all set up okay. And then we need to see what the question paper said with regards to the primary key. So it says here that we need to set the trainee number field as a primary key and then save the data. And we've got to place a screenshot showing the primary key, field names and data types using a table. So I'm going to use the snipping tool to take my screenshot. You can use print screen if you want to. If you just do a search in your operating system's search bar for the snipping tool, it should be in Microsoft Windows. I'm not sure about other operating systems if they have a similar tool that can be used for this, but if not, you can use print screen, that's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and choose my primary key, which is this one here, trainee number, which is what I was told to use, and press next. And then I'm just going to leave that with the name trainee there and just finish and close this window. And then you'll see there's a default table here, we'll just close that. And then this is our table here that we've just imported. Now we need to go back to the home tab and go onto design view so we can view the data types there. So we've got date, time, and the format we've got to make sure is in day, month, year, which it is. And then we can take our snip from here. Okay, so for those of you that haven't seen me use the snipping tool before, you just, when you open it, you press new, and I'm just going to go ahead and snip, making sure that the table name is included here. And then I'm going to copy and paste this into my evidence, and then I'll move on to the next question. So I've put my screenshot in my evidence here. It's under step 17. Now we'll go ahead and look at the question paper again. So it says now for the next step we need to import another file which is called N2102 results. And that's going to be another table in our database, and we've been given the field names and data types here, and we've got some dates and times that we need to make sure are formatted. So test date should be day, month, year, as the previous one was, but we need to have the day as 2 characters, the month should be showing in full, and the year should be 2 characters. So we need to make sure we format that. And the dates for these two, start time and duration, should be hours and then minutes, with 2 characters each separated by a colon. So we also need to make sure that format is correct as been asked. So I'm just going to go ahead and import the file, and then I'll show you how to set up the data types. So again, I'm in external data, new data source from file, and it's text, same as before, and we're opening results this time, and it's going to be exactly the same as before. So the first row has got field names in it, and then we're going to have a look at the data types. So we've got date and time, and we have start time is date with time also, and duration also, and the rest of them we've got text for test day, subject, and then the rest are number. Let's see below, and then we've got test type and result as text as well. I'm just going to verify with the question paper that I've put those in accurately and then come back. Okay, so I've gone ahead and checked that those data types are correct. I'm going to change the formatting once I've imported the file into Access. It says we don't need to set a primary key, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how to set up the formatting now in here. So we don't need a primary key, so we set no primary key, and then we're just going to finish and close this window, and then we're going to open our results file here, and then we're going to have a look at it in design view. So we go to home and design view, and this is where we're now going to have to format the type here. So we need to make sure we use median date here, and then we also need to do our start time should be, and we just go to format here, click on the drop down, it should be short time, so it's 2 characters for the hours and 2 for the minutes separated by a colon. So that's for that one, and then also duration should have the same format as well. So we go ahead and do that there, and then that's it. So when we take our screenshots, we're going to need 3 screenshots to show the additional formatting that we've set up for those 3 fields. And what I'm going to do actually is move this down a little bit as well, so everything is visible. So what I've done is I've selected the field, the first one, which is test date, and it shows the format here as median date. So I'm just going to go ahead and snip that so you can see all of that information. I noticed that result is cut off a little bit there, so I'll take an additional screenshot to show that as well. So that shows me the date and time here, and the format, the additional formatting is here. So I'm going to put that screenshot in. Okay, so as you can see, I've ended up taking 4 screenshots, showing this one's for the test date, medium date, this one's for start time, showing short time, and this one is for the duration, showing short time also. And then I scrolled down so you can see the result, data, field name and data type there. So that's what I've done to show the evidence for all of those. Now it says, so for step 18, we need to create a one-to-many relationship between trainee number in the trainee table and student ID in the results table. And it says we need to place in our evidence document screenshots or screenshot showing the type of relationship between the 2 tables. So you must show that this relationship is a one-to-many relationship from trainee number to student ID. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So you go to database tools. You must make sure that your tables are saved and closed, and then database tools and relationships, and then we're going to click control and add both, and then we can close this. And now I always like to stretch out my table so I can see all the data types. And then just move this over a little. Just go to trainee number here and we select it, and then we drag it to student ID, and then this window will open here. So you can see it's going from trainee number, which is the 1, to a many relationship with the student ID. So this window here is what we need to take a screenshot of. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly do that now. And this is what we need to show. So this one to many here is what the examiner will be looking for. So you must make sure you take a screenshot here to show that relationship. So I've gone ahead and put my screenshot showing the relationship type into my evidence under evidence 6. So I'm just going to go ahead and save my evidence now. And then the next thing we have to do, step 19, it says enter the following details as a new record in the trainee table. So we need to make sure this data is accurately entered in the under the correct field name. And then we have to check the data entry for errors and save the data. So I've saved what I did with the relationships and closed the relationship. Now I've opened the trainee table and we're going to enter a new record. So we click on this icon down the bottom here with the starburst, and that will take us to the bottom. And I can start to add in the information, and I'll show you that. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've added in the data for Lena Snyder, and I've checked that the information is all correct, and I'm just going to save that now. And then I'm going to go back to the question paper and see what's next. So step 20, it says that we, using the fields from the trainee table only, produce a tabular report, and that's important as well, make note of that. That selects the records where the training provider includes the text digital and the birth date is in 2013. So there's a couple of key things here, which is why I'm highlighting these things. So when we go to, this is going to be the query part of this question. So where it says selects, that's how you know it's a query, because in a query you select specific data from your database. You don't necessarily use all of the data. And then you'll notice the next bullet point after it says shows only the following fields. So this, where it says shows, from here downwards is what we use to produce the report, all of this information. So this bit selects is for the query, and where it says shows is for the report. So I'm going to go ahead and go into Access now and show you how I set up my query. So I've saved both my tables as I told you, and now we go to the Create tab, and I use the Query Wizard. You can use Query Design as well, it's really up to you. They're pretty similar. We're using all the fields from the trainee table only. So I've got the trainee table here. If you click on the tab, you've also got the results one, but we've been told we're only using this one, and I'm going to select all the fields at the moment. So I just use the double arrow there, and then we're going to modify the query, and I'm going to call this trainee query 1, just so I don't get confused, and then finish. So all that's done is open up the design view of the query, and it's put the fields down here ready for me to put my criteria in to select the specific data. And the question paper said, let's just remind ourselves, it says the training provider field includes the text digital, and the birth date field is in 2013. So those are the two pieces of criteria we need. So on the training provider, I'm going into the criteria row, which is here in black. This is where we type our criteria. So it has to include the text digital. So to include means that anywhere the word digital appears in that field, that record we want to be pulled out in the query. So in order to do this, we use the asterisk, which is here, the star on your keyboard, and you just put in the word that you want to be there. And the reason I've put asterisks on either side of the word digital is because if the word digital appears in the middle of a phrase of the training provider's name, then that will be pulled out. If I remove the asterisk here, that means digital would be at the beginning of the training provider's name and something else would be after. And then if I put the asterisk at the beginning back, it means that a word would be before the word digital. So in this way, where I've put them either side, we get anywhere that digital will appear in this set of records. So I'm going to run that now so we can have a look. And if we look on the training provider field, you can see digital should appear. So we've even got e-digital there. So that appears. Digital is in the center there. It's at the beginning here. We've got digitalized also. So it's pulled out anywhere that digital appears, and that's what they've asked us to do. And they should all have the same, they should all have digital at some point in there. So that's what that means. So I'm going to go back to design view, and I'm going to put in on the birth date, it said that the birth date is in 2013. So this time we're going to build an expression where we're going to use the terms between and. So between two dates. So we want to put in between the beginning of 2003, and the end of 2003. So any date that is in 2003 will come up in the result. So with this one, I've put my cursor in the criteria row on birth date, and I'm going to use the builder. It just makes it a bit quicker. And if I go to operators here, you've got all of the different logical and arithmetic operators that you would use in your expressions. So we've got between here. So if I double click on that, you'll see it starts to build your expression for you. So it's put in and already, and the dates that we want to look between, we just type here. But you must put in hashes around the date. So it's going to be 01/01 2003, and you've got to bear in mind the format of your date as well. So you need to make sure that you're using the same format, the same date format that is in your database or on that particular table. So I've put from the 1st of January 2003 and so between and the 31st of December 2003. And now the expression is in the criteria row here, as you can see. And so if I run that now, if you look at the birth date, they're all in 2003, and the format matches what I've done. So that's that one. I'm going to go ahead and save, and then we'll have a look at the next parts that we have to do for the report. So now, looking at the criteria that we need for the report, it says shows only the following fields, so first name, family name, birth date, trainee job, and training provider, in that order. Now, when we use the wizard, we can select the fields that we want to add, but it doesn't put them in the order that we need. It puts them in the order of the sort that you put in. So we're going to have to sort the data into ascending order of training provider, which means training provider will probably be first. And then we're going to have to adjust the order because it must be in this order that they've said. There should be no grouping on the data. It should be portrait, should fit on a single page only, and it should have the heading digital work programs as in a larger font, fully visible at the top of the page, and your details should be on the report. It doesn't specify where, but they must be there. So I'm going to go ahead back into my database and start to put the field names in that I need. So first name, family name, birth date, trainee job, and training provider. So again, I've selected the query first. That's important because this report is based on that query we created. You don't want to select the tables because you'll start to create a report based on the table, and we want the report to be based on the query because that has the selected data in it. So we click on that and then go to report wizard, and then that gives us the fields. So first name, family name, and I'm going to just check what the others are. So first name, family name, birth date, trainee job, and training provider. And then We press next. And we don't want any grouping, so remember there should be no grouping levels at all. And then we need to sort by training provider in ascending order. So yeah, and it should be portrait on a single page. Remember this report is tabular, so we need to make sure that we select that in our wizard as well. So next, it should be tabular there and portrait. And then I'm going to put my title here now, just to save me a bit of time, digital work program, and then finish. And here's my report. We need to obviously make some adjustments, like I told you, training providers at the beginning, because that's the field that it's sorted by, this particular report. And then we can see the date here. We need to widen the column there so that we can see the date in full. And what I normally do, I close the print preview and I move between design view, which is currently in here, and layout view is also quite useful. I'm going to close the field list here for the time being. I don't need that open. So I need to make sure everything fits, and there's a few gaps here, and it is on one page, so we just really need to work here with the columns. So basically what I do is I select the field, the heading rows, and I move them. I'm just using the arrow keys now, and then I move the data as well. And if I keep adjusting like this, so first name is first, and then I can just move that over right to the beginning there, and then I'm going to want to adjust the width of this text box, because that will create some overlap if I don't do that. And then I'm going to move family name over a little bit. You want to keep a little bit of space between them so your data isn't squashed. You need everything to be fully visible. So I'm going to go ahead and make these adjustments. So also when you move, because as you can see that text box, it covers the other data, so we do need to make these smaller. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So I moved everything around, and I can see I've scrolled down to check the data. Some of my training jobs are cut off, so I need to open this out. Even here, digital applications technician is not showing fully. So then I'm going to move the provider over a little bit, because I need to widen that as well. So I'm going to also go ahead and widen that as much as I can, because if I go down and check, let me just double check some of these. Yeah, the progress digital skills training it was cut off. So you want to check all the way down to make sure all of your data is visible and nothing's cut off, and that's fine. And then I'm going to go ahead and save that. And then if I go to the home tab and I go to design view, I can then make the title. I want to change the color of that. I want that to be black, just so it stands out a bit more. Maybe make it bold. And I'm just going to make that bigger. And I also need to put my details somewhere on the report, it says. So I'm going to put it in the page footer here. Even though it is only one page, I'm still going to make sure that I have it in the page footer, so that even if there were 2 pages, it would always appear on all the pages. So I've gone to the design tab, and I'm going to open a label, and I'm going to just draw that out into the page footer here, and then I'm going to type in my details. So name, and my candidate number, and centre number. You want to make sure they're clear, obviously. So I might move this over into the centre of here a little bit, and you could also change the colour of that and the formatting just to make sure that stands out as well. There, so that should be really clear, so we can have a final view of that and see what that would look like when it's printed. So I can see my details pretty clear there. You could change the size of the font also if you would like, just to make it really clear, but I think that's fine. Okay, so step 21, this time it says we're going to create another query and report. It says using fields from both tables this time, produce another tabular report that contains a new field called %_mark, which is calculated at runtime. So we're creating a calculated field, which we do in a query. and it tells us what the calculation will be. It will be the mark achieved divided by the total marks. So that's our calculation here. And we need to display that as a percentage with no decimal places. So we need to make sure we formatted this correctly also. And then we need to then put in, so it says select, again, so you know from the word select this is in a query. The test date is Saturday or Sunday, and the mark achieved is 25 or more. So I've gone ahead and I've gone to create query wizard to bring up the query wizard here, and I must select the tables. So this is the results table, so I'm going to move all the fields over from that, and then go to trainee and move all the fields over from that also. And then I'm going to go to modify and finish. And then I'm ready to put in firstly my calculated fields. So I will scroll across to an empty column, because this is basically a new field that we're putting in. And I'm going to open the builder up. And we're going to be using two fields that are from our tables. And those are mark achieved, so I've just put that here, and then divided by, which is the slash, by total marks. And if you're not sure which operator to use, you can open the operators pane here. So I'm going to put total marks in, and then I'll show you the operators so you can see the operators are here. Just in case you get confused, they're all listed here for you. And then I can press OK on that. And as you notice, I'm just going to widen this column so you can see properly. The calculation is here, and then we have expression 1 and a colon. You must leave the colon there because that tells Access that anything you write after the colon is a calculation, and before it is the field name. So its percentage mark is the field name for this calculation. So I'm going to run it now so you can see what the calculation looks like. We need to format it as a percentage. So at the moment it looks like this. So we're going to format it as a percentage back in design view. So here it is, it's in decimals. So if we go to design view, and I'm just going to save as I go. And then if I open the property sheet here, I've got format and percent. And then I've got decimal places, and I will set to 0. Those are the two formatting criteria that we had. And then if I run it again and scroll across, you'll see now that that's been formatted as percent with no decimal places showing. So that's that. So I'm just going to save that again, and then we'll go back to the question paper and see what we need to do next. So it said selects the records where the test day is Saturday or Sunday and the mark achieved is 25 or more. So I need to go back into design view, and I'm going to close my property sheet now. I don't need that. And I need to find test day. Okay, so test day is here, and on the criteria row again, I'm going to just type in Saturday, or is another logical operator which Access recognizes. And then so you can see it's put that in. Let's run that and check. And the test day that you should see here is Saturday and Sunday only. So that's fine. Let's save that and go back to design view again. And then on mark achieved, which is here, the mark should be 25 or more. So then we write greater than or equals to 25 or more. So we use the greater than symbol like this, and then the equal symbol and 25. Greater than or equals to, because it must include 25 or be more than 25. And then we can run that now, and the marks achieved should be 25 or more. So you can see here that that correlates with the criteria you put in. So we'll save that, and I'm going to close this and I'm going to rename it. Okay, so now we're on to the report part of this question. So it says shows only these fields: first name, family name, subject, test date, test day, start time, mark achieved, percentage mark and result. They should be in that order. So again, we have to make adjustments with the data and labels displayed in full. No grouping again. Sorts the data into ascending order of test date and descending order of subject. Has a landscape orientation, fits on a single page wide, so a single page across only, and includes only the text weekend testing as a title displayed in a larger font size, fully visible at the top of the page. Then I think I'll do all of that first, and then we'll come to the last 3 bullets in a moment. So I've gone ahead and I've selected query 2, so I've just selected it here. Then I've gone to create report wizard, and I've added in the fields: first name, family name, subject, test date, test day, start time, mark, achieved result, and percentage mark. Those are the fields that I've been asked to add in this report. There should be no grouping, so we want to keep this with none. So the report wizard is trying to make it so that we view the data with the first name and the family name at the top and all the other data underneath, which is fine. That probably looks quite organised, but for the purposes of this question, we've been asked to put in no levels like that. So I've just clicked on results, so everything, all the fields are grouped together. And then we need to sort as well. So on ascending order of test day and descending, so I'll just click on that, of subject, and that's that. And this should be landscape, and it should be tabular. And then we need to put in the heading up here. You can add it later if you want to, and then we'll finish. And so again, as I've said already, we've got to make the adjustments to get the field names and data type, the data in the right order, make sure everything's fully visible, and then we have a couple of other things to do as well. So I'm just going to organize this data using the same techniques that I used the first time. So I'm going to go into layout view, and I'm going to move around these fields. So first name should be first, but I'm going to move test day out of the way, and then I'll carry on from there. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've moved all the fields into the correct order. I've adjusted the column widths of everything to make sure it's fully visible and it fits on a single page wide. I've also made sure the heading is in a bigger font and it stands out. Now we need to look at the last few bits of this question. So it says calculates the number of tests and displays this as an integer below the subject column at the end of the report. Now, I've looked at the evidence ahead, and it says place in your evidence a screenshot showing the database formula used to calculate the number of tests. So I'm going to put the calculation in, take a screenshot. Then we need to put in the label total tests completed to the left of the value that we calculate. And then your details, you'll need to be on every page of the report in the same position, and there should be no other data in the footer. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So in my report here, so I'm on subject because that's the field where the calculation will go to the bottom of. And if I right click and go to total subject, you've got count records or count values. There aren't any values to count, so we're going to count the number of records. That will give us the number of tests, which is what we've been asked to do. And we should have a calculation just below this. So here it is. So I'm just going to save. And then I'm going to go into design view so I can see the calculation. So here's my calculation here. So it's counting the number of records. So I'm going to go ahead and take a screenshot now of that. And that will go into my evidence. And then I can put the label to the left of this calculation now as well. So I'll just put in my evidence here and then go back and put my label in. So here's my label, and it should be to the left. And that should say total tests completed. Total tests completed to the left of the calculation. Now in layout view, I'm going to see what this looks like because it might not be very clear. So yeah, it's all the way over here and the calculation's here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to format that so that that is in black, so it's clear. And I'm also then just going to move it over so it's a little bit closer to the calculation, like that. And then I'm just going to save this, and then I need to go back into design view because I need to put in, see now it's overlapped on the calculation, which is fine, as I've already taken my screenshot of the calculation and it works. So in the page footer we need to remove any other data, so I'm going to delete these labels, and then I'm going to add in my label for my details, and they must be in the page footer because they've got to appear on every page of your report. So I'm going to put that there, and I'm going to also just format that as well, just to make sure that's clear. I might make it a little bit bigger too, maybe 14. And then I want to see in layout view how that looks. Hopefully it looks okay. Yeah, so that's fine. I can move that over and center it or align that if you want to. You can do that yourself, but it's there. I might move it away from the calculation actually, just so it's a bit clearer. But yeah, that's that. So I'll just move that over here a little bit. Yeah, so it's not in the way of the calculation, and then save that. And then you would have to print out your report, making sure that your details are on there as well. So that's the end of the databases part of this exam. I hope that that was clear and that was useful. Please let me know in the comments if that was good for you, and let me know of any other questions that you're interested in me covering, anything that you found particularly challenging. And of course, don't forget to like the video if you found it useful, and of course, most importantly, subscribe to my channel. Yeah, and I will see you next time. I will do the next part of this question paper shortly, so I will speak to you then.